you know what's funny? I just rewatched my own reading vlog of Gate of the Feral Gods because I'm starting this bad boy, but it's been a couple months, so I need a refresher. I don't know how I forgot what happens in Gate of the Feral Gods, but I remember now. So thanks me for that not comprehensive review of book 4 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. We're moving on to book 5. I'm gonna start this right now after I film this. I am in serious pain today because it's been thundering all day, and that gives me full body migraines. So I think I can read. Maybe I'm gonna go in the hot tub, and that's gonna help me feel better. And I'm gonna read this book, which should also help. Okay, so refresher, some important points that I needed to remember from number 4. Carl worships a god now. They still have that deity. They still have that deity head, I think. Samantha. Oh, and Bee's alive. I think those are kind of like the main things that are important, is that she's obviously gonna crop up probably real quick. And I don't know what else happens or is gonna happen in this, but I feel like those are some important things that I should remember. This book is okay. One thing about Beth is she lends me her books, right? Every single time she lends me a book that's a hardcover with a dust jacket on, it's upside down. Not like it matters, but okay. I'm gonna start reading this now. Welcome back to Book Yaps with Ash, also, or welcome for the first time. If you're here for the first time, this is a weird video to start on, but thanks for being here. Maybe go watch the other 4 from this series first, but if I don't want to tell you what to do. So, thank you for watching regardless. And this will be the world's worst book report of Dungeon Crawler Carl 5, The Butcher's Masquerade. Yep, okay. Book Yaps with Ash. Listen up, okay? Here's what's going on so far in DCC 5, alright? Now this is important. You're going to want to pay attention to this important piece of information. The 6th floor is a hunting ground. So people that watch the show, aliens, whatever, they can pay, I believe they pay, to become hunters in the floor. And they hunt crawlers. I think the way it works is that they don't die for real. I might be wrong. There's a floor where they don't die for real, and then there's a floor where they do die for real. I can't remember which one it is. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but they definitely die on the floor when they die. I don't know if it's in real or not. But anyways, that's what the whole 6th floor is. And so there are hunters that are hanging out in this city waiting to be like let out of the gates, essentially, to go be fucked up or whatever it is. And so what happens is, first of all, they're trying to take the Gate of the Feral Gods from Carl. He doesn't want to give it up, Avi, because he used it to flood the 9th floor in the last book, right? Remember? But they almost trick him into giving it up. But then he gets a lawyer, which he didn't even realize he could have. He just said, I want my lawyer, and then they got him one. That is on imposter syndrome or something. I don't know. He gets a lawyer and he gets collateral, basically. He's like, fine, you can hold on to the gate until I get to the 9th floor, but you're going to give me something that I'm going to hold on to so that we can trade. And then he basically gets these guys. I don't know. I'm having a hard time understanding that part. But one of them has the power to transport him to any stairwell entrance. And this is the important part. So he gets into the floor. And there is 30 hours or something until the hunters are released to hunt the crawlers. The crawlers are all just trying to disperse, figure out a plan, whatever. Gain experience, kill some shit, I don't know. Carl says, I'm going in, guns blazing. And he transports him and Donut to the stairwell that's in the city where all the hunters are. And they're all hanging, getting drunk, having a good time because they're not hunting yet. And what he does is he sets up bombs. Ding, 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 ding. Bunch of bombs, okay? And he sets them all up in like the main square. And he does it invisible. And then he starts calling attention to himself so people flock towards the bombs. And then he takes the ring. He takes the ring that Frank gave him, the one that when you put it on, the ring. Wasn't in the second book. The reason that their daughter died because they made her wear the ring, but like you have to mark someone. You have to mark someone who is at full health, and then if they die, you get like extra stat points. But your health can't be healed until they die, which is why their daughter died. You feel me? You with me? You catching up? So he's putting on this ring. He shouldn't be using the ring. Mordecai doesn't want him to use the ring. Donut doesn't want him to use the ring. I don't think Katya wants him to use the ring. He shouldn't be using the ring, but he puts it on and he marks one of the hunters. And then shit blows up, okay? Boo! He blows up a bunch of hunters and flees the city. Almost dies, but is saved by other crawlers who also had a similar plan, but not as chaotic. And then he gets 34 hunter boxes, because that's how many hunters he killed. 34 of them, okay? And then what happens is, in each box, he gets coins and their hand. So every hunter he kills, he gets their hand. And what the box are saying is that, surprise, when you kill a hunter, you get their hand. And they basically work like arcade tickets. So you're collecting all your tickets, bing, 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 kill, 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 kill. At the end, however many tickets you have, you can take them to ding, 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 ding. The Butcher's Masquerade. The book title. It's important. You take it there, which is a little party at the end of the whole shitting, at the end of the whole floor if you're still alive, and you can trade it for some really cool stuff. And it's a party that includes crawlers and hunters that aren't dead. So that's what we know so far. And apparently this whole encouraging crawlers to kill hunters thing is new. And so that's interesting. That kind of is the setup for the book. Quickly. Wasn't quick. But I'm this far through. Boom. Pretty far, actually. In just a couple days. You just fucking breeze through this shit. Because it's fun. So what's happening now is he was going to try and blow up the town again. And kill more of the hunters. But then someone called Vra. He killed her sister. She's coming after him. She was like, don't bother blowing them up, blah, 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 for whatever reason. So then he didn't. He was like, fine, I'll blow them up another time. He's getting explosive happy. Okay? It's a lot. But anyways, they were on a mission to just get away from the town and everything. And they came across this other town that was just run by NPCs and killed their mayor. Well, Donut technically killed the mayor, so now she's the mayor of this town. And you remember, I think it was in book 2, that they're part of like a quest that's like a sideshow. They're doing that quest, continuing on that show right now. And then they're gonna go talk to Zev and go on Odette's show. So that's what's happening. That's what you missed on Glee. That's what's going on in the book. Butcher's Masquerade, boy. And yep, I'm having a good time. I love these stupid books. Sue me. Look at this. This is fun. This is 700 pages. I'm gonna breeze through this. I'll be done this in a week. Maybe less. That's right. Okay. Sorry. This is too much. Okay, so here's the sitch. I'm a little bit more into this than the last time I pulled you for a chat. Not too far, but pretty big thing happened, okay? So you'll remember last video at the end. Whoa. Huge thing. Bee's alive. Crazy stuff, right? Okay. Took a while in this book for that to come to fruition. Took a while. Okay. But here's how it happened, if you're curious. So, if you recall, if I said, I don't know if I did, I don't know what I tell you and what is just sticking up here, but basically Odette had Bee kidnapped from their like camp because they didn't choose to go into the dungeon. You didn't really know why, or if she was planning on doing something maybe a little malicious. Cinnamon, thank you, I'm talking. Or like what would that reason be? We don't really know if we should trust Odette yet. I think we're feeling like maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't, I don't know. But we didn't know why she kidnapped Bee. Turns out, if she didn't do it, then the Borant Corporation would have. And they probably would have made Bee into a boss that Carl and Donut would have ended up having to fight. And that would have been not very cool, kind, or cutesy, really. Kind of rude, actually. But they've kidnapped her, and they're basically holding her in like a safe space. And so she doesn't have to be part of the dungeon or at all, and she is safe. But they did want to create some drama around it. So originally, word got out that Bee was alive, and Carl won a fan box. I can't remember for what. I think it might have been something at the end of the last floor, but he won a fan box, so people were voting on what that prize was gonna be. And it was told to Carl that the prize was going to be him being like shipped off to something where Bee was going to show up, and then that's how he would find out that she's alive. And I think Donut would have been there as well. But Odette kind of sabotaged this. I believe that's what happened, and had Carl and Donut on her show, and then like hovered. What is it called? Not hovercraft. Hollow? Is it a hollow? I don't know. The way that they could bring her in without her really being there. Word escapes me. They brought her in. So they briefed everybody. Everybody knew this was happening, Bee included, and brought her into the show. And Carl noticed that, she looked a lot thinner. She looked a lot paler. She didn't look quite good. She was acting like she really didn't know what was going on. She apparently was briefed that Donut can talk now, but that really caught her off guard. And then Donut kind of went at her, was like, you know what? You were going to sell me. I thought because I loved you that you were supposed to love me. It was very sad, actually. And kind of told her what she needed to hear, because Bee was going to sell Donut before all this happened. And that's shitty. Fuck you, Bee. And then, yeah, the interaction ended, and that's what we've got so far. After that, they're part of this Daughters of the Vengeance quest, and they just fought a big boss, and lots of that's happening. But this Bee situation is huge, and also there was a situation between Borant and the Valide. Is that what it's called? Valide? The company's running the game. There was a switch in ownership, and something's gonna come of that. I don't really quite understand yet, because nothing's really come of it. But that's where we're at. So I want to get something out of the way, and it is the fact that I lied to you. And I'm here to apologize. I'm both listening and learning and accepting my ignorance and acknowledging it and taking accountability for it. And what did I lie about? You're probably wondering. The thing I said about the hunters not really dying in the dungeon, I don't think that's true. It's definitely not true at this point, because a lot of them have died and they're retreating because they're scared to die and leave their families or whatever, which just makes the whole thing more stupid. Like, why did you think that you could do this and, like, not die? So anyways, I was wrong about that. I'm not sure where I got that information. It might have been my own ass. I don't know. So if I figure out where I thought that they don't die, I'll let you know. I think it might be the 9th floor. But I don't know. A lot of information in these books, okay? It's easy to get your wires crossed. Let's talk about what's going on now. So for one thing, Carl has been sent to basically Comic-Con. He's been put on panels and had to sign a bunch of shit. And what happened was he was teleported to the Comic-Con from a specific place in the dungeon because he didn't make it to the safe room in time. And because this happened and there's so much information being shared outside of the dungeon, essentially a death trap was waiting for him when he arrived back, because they teleport him back to the place that they took him from. So when he got back from doing all this bullshit panel stuff, he was met with Vrah, the one who wants to kill him, the one whose sister he killed. And he also was in an interview with her mom at the time. So it was all this awkward stuff. But he came up with a plan to basically outsmart them. Fuck you guys. But when he got teleported out, Donut got into a battle with Lucia Marr, and she ended up killing one of her dogs, which is super cool. Shout out Donut. She is, I think Carl doesn't give her enough credit and thinks that she's maybe dumb, and she's smart, probably smarter than Carl, let's be honest here. So all this was shown on the recap because obviously Carl missed it because he was busy at Comic-Con or whatever, Crawler Con, Dungeon Con, I don't remember what it's called. But while he was at this con, he kind of hijacked the panel and got everybody in the audience to help him figure out how to defeat the hunters, which at first people in the audience were like, oh, this is weird. But he was like, listen, this whole thing's about killing, and you guys know it, and I know it. So let's just get past this, and you guys help me figure out how not to die, if we want to put it that way. So that was cool and fun. And then what else? I had a list. I forget it now. Yeah, I think that is all I wanted to say. Oh, a couple other things that I want to mention. Lucia is weird. She seemed to be talking to someone when she was fighting Donut that wasn't there, so maybe they were on an invisibility spell, but then she also said something about Donut killing the wrong dog, so that was interesting. Not sure what that's about. She's not right. Something's not okay with her. And Carl says, quote unquote, she needs to be put down. Which maybe. But maybe she's just misunderstood. I don't know. Oh my god. When Donut killed one of her dogs, oh my god, it was so good. I read this part at the gym on the treadmill. She said, stupid dog, the only bridge you'll be crossing today is made out of rainbows. Boom. Boom. I liked that. It's kind of sad though. Shout out to anyone who's had to help their baby cross the rainbow bridge. And then another thing about Carl is, what is he called? Like the mind river or something? His mind is he's not right. He's not doing okay. And he's trying to push off these feelings, these thoughts, this loudness in his brain that could be associated with the ring, the murder ring thing, or just could be a side effect of being in a murder dungeon for however long this has been going on for, which I'm honestly not sure. Time's probably not the same in space / underground Earth. You know? So I worry for him. This book specifically has been reminding me a lot of the Hunger Games. They all do, but yeah, with like the con situation and like interacting with fans, it's been very Hunger Games-esque, which I like. I think a lot of people call this slop or stupid or whatever, and I think some parts of it are dumb. Like there's a sex toy head that Carl's been kicking around and throwing around, and she's just been screaming and saying, I'm gonna kill your mother. That's silly and goofy. But I think the underlying message of it is very political, and that it just makes it easier to consume that message when you're having fun. So, like, fuck off with your this is garbage bullshit. Hi, Bill. So listen, I had to take a break from this book for a few days. Not because I wasn't having fun. I'm having fun. I'm still having fun. But because I had a hold coming due at the library that I hadn't started yet. So I think I took a 5-day break. 4 days? 3.5? 4.5. I took a few days break. But that's not stopping me from continuing reading this book. I'm like 60% of the way through at this point. Shit's getting crazy. You know? Shit's been getting crazy. Shit's been crazy. And, you know, we're at a point where there's so much shit being crazy that I'm not sure I have the words in this language that I speak to articulate the craziness of it. No, that's not a fancy way of saying that I don't know what's going on. I know very well what's going on. I just can't articulate it, okay? So I think the last thing I told you about was the whole, like, Con Lucia Mar thing. Well, what's been happening since then? Like, a lot. There's just a lot of quests and stuff. I think the biggest thing is that... Okay, so there's a crawler, I think. Her name's Miriam Dom. I'm pretty sure she's a crawler. And then she had a bunch of pets. I think they were goats. And then they came in and took the, like, pet biscuit, and then they were, like, real the way that donut is real. I think that's what happened. To be honest, I don't know, okay? I'm not gonna tell you I do. So, I'm pretty sure Miriam Dom is the one that saved Carl at the beginning when you went to blow up the Hunter's little town. She's a vampire, which is important, because something happened. And they were, like, Carl and Donut were summoned to her, and her little goat friend, whatever, her pet crawler friend, son, I don't know, was frozen, and he had marked her, I think. Yeah, because he has a ring of divine suffering, the ring that Carl has. And basically she needed to die because of her, all of these NPCs and other creatures have been turned into vampires. And there's a quest with the dinosaur Big Tina. And she'd been turned into a vampire. I don't know, man. This is crazy that I have to explain this out loud to you. Like, I don't like, I'm literally just here for the vibes. But anyways, they went, and I think Miriam Dom wanted Carl to kill her, but Carl didn't want to kill her, so they just waited for sunrise, and then she just went up in dust the way a vampire would. And this turned all the other vampires to not vampires anymore and ruined the Big Tina quest, which upset the AI of the game. Also, they brought in Ferdinand, aka Big Gravy, the cat that was with B, to try and kill Donut. So that's cool. That's interesting. That's something. Yeah, the AI's upset and basically made a world quest, turned all of these flowers or plants into like little like demon evil plants. And the world quest was for the crawlers and the hunters to kill them. And the crawlers did a great job, but the hunters were being pussy-ass bitches. They didn't kill them, so they failed the quest. And then the AI was like, fine, they're going to take over the whole floor and kill you. And that's what's going on right now. And, like, the way it seems, it does seem like I don't know what's going on. But, like, I do. It's just not coming out in words. Alright, listen. I am still going with this. I want to finish. Here's some advice. Don't read like 5 books at the same time. It feels like obvious advice, but I'm doing it. Well, not right now, but I was. And it's a lot, obviously. I'm almost up page 600. And the Butcher's Masquerade, it's happening. Okay? And they've got like a plan, because the Daughters of the Vengeance storyline is coming together. There's something about Big Tina, that dinosaur quest that's coming together. The queen who's running this event was originally going to be B, and that's what we found out like at the beginning. It was that it was gonna be her, but then Odette saved her or whatever. So it was another crawler's dead girlfriend, but actually it might be her twin. Unsure. Yeah, they've just entered the Masquerade, and they've been working on a plan to try and defeat the queen, I think. But it's difficult because they don't have magic, they don't have their inventory, and they're actually like separate from all of the hunters. Hold on. See that? This is like the map. So like, it'll seem like they're in the same ballroom, but they're not. They're in separate ballrooms. You know? It's like pretty normal stuff. I'm looking forward to see how this comes together and how it ends. Oh, they're also trying to, like, get the changelings or whatever, the NPCs down to the 9th floor using a spell. They're doing a lot of things. They're doing a lot at once. And, yeah, kind of crazy. So, that's the big thing, is it's all coming together. And that's what happens at the end of books. And I'm back where I started at the beginning of this video, and I finished the book. As I basically expected, everything kind of really came together in the end. And I feel like I was just kind of waiting for this to happen. To be honest, okay, some factors to that should come into play here is that while I was reading this book, I was also reading 4 other books at the same time. So this one, Under the Dome, The Martian, Parable of the Sower, so I took a 5-day break from this book, and Night Shift by Stephen King, which is short stories. So that on top of just the amount of things going on in these 700 pages, probably not the best combo, because to be honest, there were a lot of parts where I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Carl, but I trust you. So I'm just gonna hope that this all starts making sense by the end, and if it doesn't, there's fine with me. No test. I'm not gonna be quizzed on this or whatever. But I kind of am, because I'm doing this video. But okay, so where we last left off, they were about to, I think they were right about to go into the castle, where they're all in there with the hunters and the queen, who I think I mentioned was Florin's ex-girlfriend, reincarnated for this bit. It was supposed to be B. Anyways, they all have their own ballroom, but all the ballrooms kind of like connect so that they can be in the same room, but they are shielded from hurting one another. Because, so as you can see, I'm gonna put it here. The second floor, I think, the one floor, powers all of the other the ballrooms, okay? With these crystals. And the crystals, if they're plugged in properly, make it so that they can't use their magic, they can't get their inventory, whatever, okay? And so it goes for the hunters, it goes for the crawlers. The crawlers can't use their powers, but their plan was that they needed to get it so that they could use their powers, inventory, magic, whatever, and just fucking, well, one, kill the queen. That's part of the Daughters of the Vengeance storyline, is they had to get her dead, okay? And a lot happens here, but there's just some important things that happen, and it's that Samantha, the sex doll head, but also goddess reincarnated, whatever, from the last book, she's crazy. She rolls around, she's a head, she rolls around and says, I'm gonna kill your mother, whatever. She is rolling around through the, like, HVAC system, Zack and Cody style, trying to get to this room to unplug the crawler's crystal so that they can do their plan. And she does this. It's a struggle, but she does accomplish it. At the same time, Donut is on stage performing for the queen and the judges and whatever with Big Tina the dinosaur, and that is part of the Big Tina quest to perform. Which again, it's important, I guess. And so Donut has gotten this power, this book, to sing. And if she can sing on pitch and on tempo or whatever properly, then it casts a spell. So she is singing this song that B used to sing to her, which didn't really make any sense. As most songs that we sing to our pets don't make sense. So she's singing her this song, the crystal has been removed, so that means magic actually does work, and the song she's singing, like, eyes on me, blah, blah, blah. So everybody in the ballroom is distracted by Donut. And while they've distracted everybody, Carl then goes into the chat, and he goes, now, and then everybody attacks, and they kill Vra, and shit kind of just goes crazy. And so what happens after that? Oh, another thing. So it's been Carl's plan this whole time since the last book to help all the NPC changelings get to the 9th floor, because I guess that's where they will be safe, I think. So there's this spell that if they're in a castle and they do the spell, then the castle will drop down to the 9th floor, and then the changelings will be safe. So while all this is happening, fighting, Donut singing, sex doll head running around, normal stuff. The spell is also being cast. So the thing is with it is that only the NPCs can drop down to the 9th floor. So when the spell is cast, the castle disappears, but the crawlers and the hunters and the queen. Oh, and also there's another god, Diwata. She's there too, trying to kill Carl. They don't go anywhere. So they end up in these like boxes. They're just like floating because the castle has disappeared. And the AI's like, bro, what the fuck? Okay. We're supposed to have a battle. You guys are supposed to die. Like, the whole point of the Butcher's Masquerade was so that the top 50 crawlers all died. Which, that's not very good for TV. So then what happens? The castle's gone, but the AI's like, big battle! And so there's boss battle. And it's 4 teams, and only one team makes it out alive. The teams are the crawlers, the hunters, the queen, and the god. Okay? And so fighting happens. And eventually we get to the point where all the hunters are dead, and Carl and Donut, they don't kill the god, but they defeat her enough that she disappears. And they beat the queen. But Carl, he was like on death's door. It was the other crawlers who beat the queen. Another thing about this whole scene that is interesting and is a good point into why these books are not just fun, silly little slop. They are true political commentary. And that is, when this big 4-team fight started, everybody's like name, class, whatever, goes through the screen. So all the crawlers, their names are going through the screen. Because again, people are watching this, remember. And then it gets to the hunters. And it mentions, it's just like one line, but it mentions that pretty much every hunter that's still there at this point, it says where they live. And most of them either are homeless or a refugee. And that was really interesting to me because I thought until this point, I thought that a lot of them were just rich idiots. But I think it gets to this point where you're like, oh, these people kind of had to come here because they get paid to. And this was like their last ditch effort to support their families. And they knew it was risky and they knew they'd probably die. And they didn't have experience, but they had to go because they had no money. Sound familiar? This whole thing, the queen dying, means the Daughters of the Vengeance quest was completed, and nothing left to do on this floor but to go down the stairwell. But before that, all the crawlers are just hanging around, not the ones that didn't die. And some of them are healing crawlers, so they're going around and like casting healing spells in order. It's kind of like almost like an ER situation. I've been watching The Pit a lot. Carl gets healed, and he starts talking to the camera. He knows that all of the crawlers who people are watching are here, and he has something important to say. And remember where I kept saying like, oh, I feel like the hunters don't die. They don't die. This is why I feel like that. When you get to the 9th floor, there's something called the faction wars, and there's all these different teams that I think are fighting for like land, or they're fighting to the death, I think, but they don't actually die. It's just like a fun little thing, but the crawlers die, and they've got to go to the 9th floor. Something happened during all of this kerfuffle that allowed the Princess Posse, which is Carl and Donut, to purchase a team space for this event, which I don't think crawlers have ever really been able to do. I'm not sure the significance of crawlers on this floor. I haven't gone that far yet. So they've purchased a space, and Carl, he starts talking to the camera, and he's like, hey, for the faction wars, kind of weird, a little bit unfair that we're going to be the only team who can truly die. None of anybody else coming into this can truly die, but it's us who can. That feels a little unfair. There's one more team who actually would vote that they can die, which sounds kind of crazy. Like, if I was going into this like VR world thing and like playing a little fun game where I wouldn't die, and they were like, hey, do you want to change it so you could actually die? I'd be like, no, obviously not. But Carl makes a good point that like it's a little unfair that him and Donut can die. And obviously they're not going to change the whole crawl and make it so that the crawlers can't die. So he is vouching to everybody watching to be like, hey, we should change these rules. It doesn't make sense. He does get cut off, but he feels like he's made his point. So that will be interesting when we get to the 9th floor. That is the end of the 6th floor. They go down the stairwell. That's the end until there's an epilogue, okay? And the epilogue is that Carl, Adona, and Prepotent, the goat guy. He asked to become part of their party just for the rest of this floor for whatever reason. Can't remember. I'm sure it was important, but it's gone. Not here anymore. But he's part of their party. So they're in this like fishbowl, and they can see like all these other fishbowls of crawlers in like a spiral staircase thing. And Prepotent, I don't know. That's how I'm going to say it. He's been given this thing from his sponsor. It's like a wand. And he has been learning through different things about what the 7th floor is going to be. And he's like, the 7th floor is going to be this maze based on this story where every path you go down, you can't go back. And he's pieced together that that's what this floor is, and that there's this elite or god or someone whose name starts with the C. It's her floor. It's her thing. And he has the wand of her or whatever. So he takes the wand and stabs it into the wall of this fishbone, cracking it, and actually cracks and destroys the entire 7th floor. It's gone. And that's it. He's ruined it. And so, no 7th floor. We're skipping 7th floor. I didn't know that was allowed. I didn't know that was possible, but when you're an author, you can do whatever you want. So, no 7th floor. Then they're going to the 8th floor. Basically, the book ends with Carl and Donut, because Prepotent or whatever left their party, was like, bye, this is all I wanted to do. So they're shown the globe, the Earth, and they're shown a map of all these different places on Earth, and they're basically told, pick where you want to start the 8th floor. Earlier in the book, Carl was given this prize, or picked this prize, can't remember, but it was like a book about the Bahamas, and he was like, that's weird. I have this book now. He's like, we've got this book on the Bahamas. Let's go to the Bahamas. Donut's like, hell yeah. She's in charge of the party because she's actually ranked higher than Carl at this point. So she goes to pick the Bahamas, and Smack Dad picks the Florida Panhandle instead. So that's what happens. They're sent to the Panhandle in Florida, and that's all I know about the next book. In the epilogue, we actually get out of Carl's first-person POV and go and have a third-person POV of Katya going to kill Ava, who was from the 4th book, part of like Katya's original party with Hecla. And Ava kind of sucks. She's killed like 50 plus crawlers at this point for whatever reason, and Katya wants to kill her and end it all. So as she's stabbing her in the chest with a sword or some shit, and Ava is dying, Ava grabs something from her inventory and puts it onto Katya. And what is it that she grabs? It is the crown of the sepsis whore. Now, stay with me here about the crown. This is the crown that Donut put on, I think, either at the beginning or the end of the 1st book. So she put this crown on because it was a crown. She was like, I'm Princess Donut, I'm wearing a crown, without reading the description about it, which was like, please read this description before you put this on because it's really important. And she didn't read it. And this is the description. Royal members of the Blood Sultanate will be required to slay the Sultan and all other members of the royal family before descending to the 10th floor. You'll only want to wear this if you're a bloodthirsty, raging psychopath. So, what this means is, when they get to the 9th floor, Donut, because she put the crown on, even though she's taken it off at this point, will have to slay every other member of the Blood Sultanate, which she is now a part of because she put the crown on. Katya has now also put the crown on. Non-consensual, but the crown has been put on her head. Donut is still a part of this, but now Katya is also a part of this. So, in theory, only one of them can make it to the 10th floor, because in order to go to the 10th floor, you have to slay everybody else in that party or whatever. So that's crazy, because it means that either Katya or Donut will die, or they'll find a loophole. Maybe in the next book, maybe in the book after, I'm not sure. Not sure how many more floors we're going to cover each book. That is the end of this big fatty 707 pages of The Butcher's Masquerade. How did I feel about this book, you ask, okay? Like I said, I had a hard time for most of the book knowing 100% what was going on and why. There was a lot of storylines, there's a lot of characters, there's a lot of this, that, and the next thing, and I kind of was just like, I can't go back to find the answers. I used Dungeon Crawler Carl Wiki a lot this book to remind myself of who characters are, what they look like. Like I said, a lot going on. Still had a lot of fun. I knew that the ending was going to wrap it all up. and be really exciting. So you can see how large this is. Probably could have been a bit shorter. I feel like there's parts of this book that I don't remember, and I didn't need to remember or didn't need to know to get to the end, but maybe that's not entirely true. It was quite large. The next two are quite larger, so I think next book I read, I will not read in tandem with more than one other book. Another thing also, I felt like this floor, this like map of this floor, was kind of my least favorite. There wasn't anything like spectacular about it. Obviously the biggest thing is that there were hunters. I could be totally off base here, but I was just kind of picturing like Hyrule, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda. I was picturing that. There's like lots of little towns throughout the map, and then you could like conquer the towns. So that was cool, but I mean, going from the bubbles, which I thought was just amazing, super cool, to like, I don't know, normal Fantasyland was a little flat for me, but also there was so much other stuff going on. I feel like if they added like complicated floor dynamics, that my head might have exploded. So is that a critique, or is this just me yapping out loud? Probably just me yapping out loud. But yeah, I thought the ending was so fun. Like, I love getting to see all of the crawlers working together. I love seeing that Carl isn't necessarily the strongest one anymore, and that there's a lot of other really powerful, cool, kick-ass crawlers that we're seeing. I don't know how to rate this with stars. I might be moving away from that at this point, but overall, if I'm trying to like rank them, which is hard because like so much happens in all of them, I think what I do know is that the first one I think will always be a favorite, because it's like you're being interested in, or you're being introduced into the world, and you're learning things while they're learning things, and it's easy to understand. I know it's all new and exciting. And then I think the fourth one with the bubbles is my second favorite. And then I don't know, the second and third one. Well, the third one was the trains, which was confusing but really cool. So they all kind of blend together. So that's how I, that's how I rank them. And this has been another edition of the World's Worst Book Report, while I read The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinneman, Dungeon Crawler Carl, Book 5. If you've made it to the end of this video, you deserve a medal. And thank you. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. See you later.